Everybody, I'm Rapunzel and I will be doing our Kids Club for this week. I am doing the Kids Club for the Wright City branch. I wanted to remind you before we get started with our Kids Club today that each branch is still doing virtual story times every week. So each branch has a different time they're doing story times. Wright City's branch is every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Check every branch's Facebook page to be able to get the times of their story times. And don't forget, these kids clubs we're doing are every single Monday, and there'll be a teen program every single Wednesday, and there will be an adult program every single Thursday through the summer. So today, I am going to be reading you one of my favorite fairy tales that I loved reading when I was in my tower. We're also going to talk about some of the different fairy tale books there are for different ages. And I'm going to talk to you all about the life of a medieval princess because it's very different than what you see in the movies with the big beautiful castle and glamorous ball gowns. It's a little different in medieval times. So we're going to talk about that today. Our take and make craft today is a crown, and I'm going to be coloring it with crayons, but you can color it with markers or sparkles and gems and make it however you want. I want to point out that next Monday, our kids club is going to be about fairies. That's super exciting. And this coming Wednesday, our team program is going to be about. Our team program this Wednesday is going to be family crests. And I know the take and make for that's going to be a shield. So that's super exciting. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started with our Kids Club today. I'm so excited to see all of you from all the different branches joining us. I'm going to read one of my favorite fairy tales today. This is out of a book that you can get here at the library. It's called Greatest Magical Stories, and it is a compilation of a bunch of different fairy tales. And we have a few books like this here in our library system that you can search for in the catalog and get. I'm going to be reading to you Rumpelstiltskin. That's one of my favorite fairy tales. Okay, here we go. In the far-off times, there lived a poor miller and his daughter, Lily. Lily was kind and clever and good, but the miller was a show-off who liked to tell tall tales. Lily was in love with the prince, but was too poor to be his wife. So the miller went to the king and boasted about his daughter. She can spin straw into pure gold, he said. My, but she can't, can she? I think that's a lie. The king was delighted and summoned Lily to the castle. There he took her to a turret and showed her a bale of straw. Spin it into gold by morning, and you may marry my son, he said, and then he locked the door. But of course Lily had no idea what to do, and she stamped her foot in anger, and at this sound a goblin appeared. Give me your necklace, and I will spin the straw into gold, he said. Lily's necklace had belonged to her mother, so she did not want to give it away, yet she did want to marry the prince, so she agreed, and the goblin was as good as his word, and he spun the straw into reels of gold. The king was pleased, but he was also greedy. He took Lily to another turret with 2 bales of straw. Spin it into gold by morning, and you may marry my son, he said, and then he locked the door. Again, Lily stamped her foot. And again, the goblin appeared. Give me your ring, and I will spin the straw into gold for you. Lily gave him the ring, and the goblin spun the straw into reels of gold. The king smiled when he saw the gold, but it made him greedier still. He took Lily to another turret, and with 3 bales of straw this time. Spin it into gold by morning, and you may marry my son, he said, and then he locked the door. He's getting very greedy, isn't he? So he's already had 1, 2, 3 bales spun into gold, and now he wants 3 more. Again, Lily stamped her foot, and the goblin appeared. I have nothing left to give you, she said, but I need your help. So the goblin thought, and he replied, Give me your first child, and I will spin the straw into gold. Lily, who did not much care for babies, agreed, and the goblin spun the straw into reels of gold. This time the king kept his word and Lily married the prince. The years passed, and in her happiness, Lily forgot that she did not much care for babies. She and the prince had a little boy, and they named him Tom. Lily also forgot her promise to the goblin, but the goblin did not forget. On Tom's first birthday, he came to the castle and said, "Give me your baby." Oh no. Lily could not bear to be parted from Tom, and she offered the goblin gold instead, but the goblin said Tom was the only treasure he wanted. But as I have told you, Lily was a clever girl. "If I can guess your name, will you let me keep Tom?" she asked. "I will give you 3 days," the goblin said, "but you will not win. The child will be mine." Lily set to work, and on the first day she wrote down all the boy names she had heard of. When the goblin came that evening, she said, "Is your name Adam?" "No," smiled the goblin, "that is not my name." "Is it Amid?" asked Lily. "No," smiled the goblin, "that is not my name." Lily tried Akim and Anton and Hazan and Hans. Each time the goblin said the same thing, "No, that is not my name." The second day Lily went to the castle library and wrote down all the boys' names that she hadn't heard of. When the goblin came that evening, she said, "Is your name Achilles?" "No," smiled the goblin, "that is not my name." "Is it Axel?" asked Lily. "No," smiled the goblin, "that is not my name." Lily tried Karim, Casper, and Santos and Solomon. Each time the goblin said the same thing, "No, that is not my name." On the third day, Lily had run out of ideas. So she went for a long walk into town. She walked around the market listening for anyone with a different name. The only names she found in the market were ones she had already tried, like James, Jack, and Jonas. Lily had almost given up hope when she saw a market stall selling reels of thread. A little man was singing to himself as he stacked them in neat piles. He sang, "My name is not John, my name is not Jim, my name is Rumpelstiltskin." Lily smiled because she could see that the little man was the very same goblin who wanted to take Tom away. When the goblin came that evening, she pretended not to know. "Is your name Gumboot?" she said. "No," smiled the goblin, "that is not my name." "Is it Marmalade?" asked Lily. "No," smiled the goblin, "that is not my name." Lily tried Slurp and Squelch and Mutton and Ten, but each time the goblin said the same thing, "No, that is not my name." Then Lily had one last guess. "Is your name Rumpelstiltskin?" she asked. He didn't look happy. The goblin stamped his foot so hard it went through the floor, and he pulled with all his might, but he was stuck. Lily offered to help him as long as he vanished forever. The angry goblin disappeared. Tom stayed in the castle with Lily and the prince, and they are living there still. I loved that story. I used to read that story all the time in my tower. So the origins of this story is a German folklore where small creatures called Rumpelstilts made noises by rattling sticks on posts. As annoying as noisy goblins are, they don't sound as wicked or meddling as the villain in this story. I've also read versions of Rumpelstiltskin where he doesn't get his foot stuck, but he stomps so hard into the floor, he stomps all the way down into the earth and is just never seen again. So it's very interesting the way that fairy tales, once retold over and over again, they can change a lot. So next, I wanted to point out a few books we have here at the library. These are books I just grabbed from the Right City branch that we had on our shelves. But you can find lots of different books at the different branches, or even just browsing our catalog system, you can find a lot of different fairy tale books, not only at the different scenic branches, but through some of the Missouri Evergreen system as well. And fairy tale books for all different ages. So we're going to start with little ones. So we have some board books for little babies. This one's Cinderella, and this one's very interesting because this is a Once Upon a World book. So this one is set in, I think this one's in Mexico. So there's different cultures. There's also a Rapunzel one, which is set in India. So that's very interesting. So this Once Upon a World series are different cultures, which is very awesome. And it tells the Cinderella story through this board book. It's the same Cinderella story we know and love, but there's a fairy godmother. It is a different culture, so it's very interesting to see the drawings and the way they made her beautiful dress and everything. So it's very neat. She still loses her slipper. So there are, and not only just Cinderella and like the Rapunzel one, but there's lots of different board books. I know there's Little Red Riding Hood board book we have. So you can definitely find fairy tales for little ones. We also have picture books. So this is going to be in our easy section in the drawers or the bins in the kids section. One I found was Rapunzel and the Seven Dwarves. So this one's kind of silly because the Seven Dwarves are for Snow White, not for just me. So this has just got silly words in it too that are made up silly words, which is really funny. And it has got beautiful pictures in it. And this is just a storybook for like younger kids, but not babies. So that's a really fun one I found. And I also found Red Riding Hood, retold by Beatrix Potter. It's got very pretty pictures in here, but it's just a retelling of the Little Red Riding Hood story. And there's quite a few picture books that are fairy tales. We're gonna go on to nonfiction. So this one's To Be a Princess, and this is a nonfiction book. So not quite fairy tales, but it does go into detail and have pictures of princesses and how, like this one talks about Marie Antoinette, and then there's also like timelines in here. So this is going to be for your older kids, your older elementary, middle school age kids. So that's really neat. Also this other one, and this one's one we're going to read today a little bit out of, is Who Wants to Be a Princess? What it was really like to be a medieval princess. So we're going to read out this one a little bit. But this is also another nonfiction book, which looks a lot like a picture book. So it's really neat. So we're going to read a little bit out of this one. And if we go into our YA or our teen section, young adult novel, this is a novel, and this is called Cress. And this is from the Lunar Chronicles. So it's a series of books called the Lunar Chronicles by Marissa Meyer. And this one's called Cress, and you can see it's like a variation of Rapunzel. It starts with a book called Cinder. So each book is based off of a princess. So there's Cinder, Scarlet, which is I think Red Riding Hood maybe, I can't remember. And then Cress is Cinderella. And then there's Winter, which is I think a take on Snow White. And Stars Above, and then Fairest, which is another take on Snow White, I believe. But it's this is what we would call a twisted fairy tale or fractured fairy tale, because although it is talking about the fairy tale in a way, it changes it and it makes it different than you normally would hear, even through different retellings. But this changes it a lot. So this is not only a fairy tale, but it's also got sci-fi elements to it, like robots and stuff. So that's really cool. So this is a YA book. It doesn't have to just be YA, though adults would love this too. Okay, so we have some really great selections here. So we're going to go ahead and talk about what it would be like to be a real medieval princess, because we always see these beautiful gowns, but really you're going to wear something like this. So how would you like to be a very real princess from the Middle Ages? Let me tell you about my day versus a fairy tale day. So let's see what she does. In a fairy tale, the castle may look like this, but my castle is plain. It's like a little village of people baking bread and brushing horses and knights standing guard. That smell, it's from the moat. It's full of potty water and garbage. It's perfect for keeping out unwanted visitors. But kiss a frog that's been swimming in that water? I don't think so. That doesn't sound very fun, does it? You might picture my room as pink and fluffy like this one. Really, it's dark and made of stone, and it's not just a princess room. All the royal kids in the castle sleep here. It's like a slumber party every day. We don't have glass windows, only wooden shutters. In the winter, we close them tight, so we awake in darkness and dress by candlelight. You might expect me to wear a beautiful ball gown. That's only for special occasions. For ordinary days, I wear itchy wool and no tiara. Crowns are only for real special occasions, like when my mom and dad become king and queen. It says time to start the day. In stories, girls may trot off to Princess Charm School. But I'm already charming and I don't go anywhere for school. The other royal children and I have a tutor who lives within the castle walls. He teaches us French. Now it's time to frolic in the forest. That's princess for play. That's my favorite thing to do. I bet you think I sing la 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 to the forest animals and that they sing back. That sounds about right, yeah? I think so. I mean, I have Pascal that I like to sing to. Please, this is the real world. I practice writing and archery. I know another princess who does that. Do you guys know? Princess Miranda from Brave. Lunchtime, finally! I get to see mother and father, and they're usually busy bossing around their subjects. You may have seen paintings of us dining at the high table. And we do, but our food may surprise you. It certainly does us. We're having peacock. The cook has replaced its head with a wild boar's head. And there it is. And the sides, pies filled with birds. 4 and 20 blackbirds have escaped and are flying overhead. It may sound like a nursery rhyme, but the cook really makes this a dish for our amusement. We rarely sweep. Bones, grease, and crumbs, and now bird doo-doo, pile up on the floor. Rats are everywhere. We prefer they leave, but what can we do? Other than tidy up, I mean. Princess cupcakes for dessert? If only. After lunch, we eat aged cheese. That means old cheese. It's a delicacy. And by now, you must be wondering, when is the fancy fairy tale ball? Me too. We have dances only on holidays or when we have a royal guest. On ordinary days, we do quiet things like embroider. Do you ever have quiet afternoons? As the sun sets, we dine again. We often have visitors. In stories, an evil queen might come to the castle to cast a dastardly spell. It's just traveling jugglers and a sappy troubadour singing love songs. One day a prince will sweep me away. That looks like my tower, kinda. But he might not be charming or handsome. I may not even know him. My parents will choose him. We'll marry when we're about 12. I hope we like each other, even if he does look funny and acts goofy. Do you imagine getting married at 12? No way! It's dark now. At a fairy tale park, the castle would light up the night sky and knights would guard against dragons and evil wizards. But we have no lights. In the darkness, people sleep everywhere, and servants rest beside their work because they have no rooms of their own. And the real danger is from armies who might try to overtake our castle in the dark. I snuggle into my bed when I'm afraid. Not a fairy tale bed like this one, but an ordinary bed like this one. My sister tells me a story about a princess far, far away. I fall asleep and dream of being you, a regular little girl. Is that really exciting? That was some interesting stuff. So this was a fictional medieval princess in the Middle Ages or medieval times, which lasted from CE 500 to CE 1500. It's 1,000 years. A lot changed during that time. This book describes what life would have been like for a princess who lived around 1100, 1300 in what is now Great Britain. So every castle was different, but typically a castle was a collection of buildings surrounded by castle walls. Sometimes a moat encircled the castle to discourage invading armies. As the years passed, castles became more comfortable. The royalty eventually chose to live in palaces and great houses instead of drafty old castles. Royal children like Beatrice lived at home until they were about 7. Then they might have gone to serve at another castle, or when the girls were 12 or older, to marry a prince or duke. Their parents arranged these marriages for political gain, but the princesses often had some say. Nobody wanted the prince and princess to dislike each other, though that sometimes happened. Life as a princess was in some ways glamorous, but as you can see, there were difficulties and dangers that came with being royalty, and princesses often had to make decisions based on duty rather than their hopes and dreams. So, although you might see some beautiful things in regular fairy tales, it wasn't quite like that in real life. Okay, so I'm going to color a little bit of my crown here. And here's our crown, our take and make. So you can stop at your branch, your local branch, and pick up a crown to decorate. And you get to keep it, okay? So I am going to make mine a really fun color. I used a marker, but I do realize that you need to let it dry because I just got my fingers kind of messy. So I made mine like a green color. So it kind of looks like a frosty clown, like our crown. Like it could maybe be Queen Elsa's crown because it's like blue or greenish color. There we go. So come by and pick up your crown to design. And I'd love to see pictures of it. If you can take some pictures and have your grown-ups post them on our page here under this video, that'd be lovely. So thank you so much for listening to my favorite fairy tale and letting me tell you all about some different fairy tale books. I love you so much. Bye.